Riccardo here. I'm going to do a video on guitar relicking. I decided to have fun. This is probably one of the best therapies you can do is beat the crap out of your guitar and save yourself some money. I was able to save 500 bucks. I didn't need much. You know, I've seen a lot of videos out there and reading material, and they mentioned some of the harsh chemicals. Very limited. If I spent maybe 10 bucks, lacquer, shoe polish, brown, cheap, a buck, sandpaper, steel wool. This here is probably the most important of all when it comes to relicking a guitar. Mark Twain had said, name the greatest of all inventors, accident, and it's true. While I was working on this guitar, it was an accident. I was trying to make some of the material look old. I tried the coffee grains and let it sit, you know, with the pick guard, and I did change somewhat of a cream looking color, but not the desired look that I wanted. And after sanding the body with steel wool, I placed the steel wool on the wet table and it began to rust. And so I pick up that steel wool and I'm thinking, you know what, I'm curious to see what would happen if I dabbed it on the metal. And take a look at that. Take a look at that metal. Look at the nut, the screws, they're rusted. The machine head. Now I didn't bother doing the turning mechanism, just the clovers. The front, a little bit of the front there. Take a look at that plate. That is what I wanted. It was basically an accident. I dabbed it on. It came on a little darker at first, you know, wet. As soon as it dried, perfect rust color. Perfect. I mean, that is, that's a blast, man. But how do I keep that on, right? I'm thinking to myself, how do I, lacquer. This is made from metal, wood, fiberglass, sprayed on. Now, the trick here, you got the rust, that's beautiful, looks great, you don't want to touch it. Sprayed on with the lacquer, you need to blow the lacquer right away to get that flat look. None of the shine, if any, is left on there. If you spray it on, it'll shine somewhat. But as soon as you blow the heat, it just flattens it right out. Again, same with the volume too, and the tone knob. And I didn't do as much on the bridge. I didn't want to get some of the rust on the springs. Just very little. When you do dab it on, if you don't like it, wipe it off, start over again. And if you're gonna, be careful if you're not going to use any gloves, because that stuff does, the steel wool, the rust, it stays in your fingers pretty good. Then I thought, why not do the pick guard? I wanted something dirtier and beat up and like it's been hit, with picks and whatnot. So I did take the wet sandpaper, 340 grit, I believe it is, and just scratched it up, and it was dirty from the wood. And wiped off, what I thought would look, good enough. Then I took the wet steel wool, the rusted steel wool, and then just dabbed the areas that I wanted. Now, I basically dabbed the whole thing, but wiped off most of it and left it near the volume knob. You can see that. Now, same thing. Spray that. Spray with the lacquer and blow on it. But just to let you know also, if you don't want to spray, you don't need to. That rust on that pick guard stays on pretty good. It'll, you can get it off before it dries, but can't go wrong. Again, look at that neck plate. That's sweet. Perfect. Actually wet the steel wool and squeezed it near the screws, let it fill up, dry, spray, blow. The body, Start off with 180, 220, 340, then steel wool, smoothing off, take the shine away, hit it with a hammer, screwdriver, beat the crap out of it, sand the edges, areas that, it hits the case or it falls on the floor, or buckle rash there. Hit that first with a hammer, screwdriver, and then sand it. I wanted to keep some of the paint. You see some of the black specks on it. So that turned out great. I mean, I've had this priced. Forgot to mention the headstock. Take a look at that. That color. That's a beautiful color. And you notice the edges are a little bit. If I turn it this way, you'll see the contrast. It's a lot lighter here. The edges are darker. Most older guitars you'll find the edges are darker. But it's beautiful color. A little bit lighter on the back. I didn't want to do too much on the back. The main focus was the front. The neck, maybe one coat real quick. Then I threw some steel wool on it, take the shine off. But that is cool. How much did I spend? I'm going to say $7, maybe 10 on supplies. It's just a lot of elbow grease, and you're having fun, man. It doesn't take long at all. You could probably do this, I'd say maybe, putting it all back together again, maybe a couple hours. But you'll find that you'll sit it down and look at it again and go, you know what, I want to do some more to it. I want to put some more shoe polish on it, or I want to make it look even more beat up. It's great. So like I said, under $10, couple hours, you had a blast. I had it priced, I think some guy wanted $500 to do this. And he was going to use harsh chemicals and all that fun stuff. And no, it ain't going to happen. You know what? I want to do it myself. And man, I feel better. I feel awesome. Now one of my favorite guitars. Was at least when I first got it a couple of years ago. And I invested some money, put some Barlini pickups in it. Sounds great. Then I took one of my older guitars. This is probably about 35 years old. Had it torched. A fellow by the name of Kerry Davis. I paid someone to burn my guitar. Crazy, yeah. Took a torch to it. Some places are a little deeper than others. He had said that while he moved down here to torch this area, that caught on fire, so he threw water on it to take it out. But you know what? It actually gave it more character. Look at it. The wood began to split from the heat. He was worried that it'd fall apart, but he said, could always glue it back together. Neck plate got a little hot there. It was apart when he did it. He took the neck off. Volume, tone knob, wood, burnt. Got some good pickups in it though. Buckle rash. So basically took a torch to it and urethane. The first time we did the urethane, it wasn't enough, so I began to notice that my clothing was black from the torching, so we added more lacquer or urethane, whatever you want. I just threw lacquer on it, sprayed it quite a bit. You could also varathane, add a little bit more on the back, because I know I'm going to be jumping around hitting it pretty hard. And some of it even flaked. You can see that. So, Relic guitars is a blast. If you're bored, do this, man. You cannot go wrong. It looks good. One of a kind. There's not one the same. This is cool. I mean, it looks like I played for 50 years. And hey, you cannot go wrong with this. All right, have fun. If you have any questions, give me a call.